Okay, we should be live. Welcome. My name is TJ Gamble, and you have tuned into the e-commerce happy hour, where we're here to help you get more from your e-commerce store. Now, today I'm breaking out the Basil Hayden. It's a little bit of Kentucky small batch. I was in the Netherlands last week, so we didn't have a live stream, but I did get a little bit of grief from some of the folks over there. Apparently, I've been making a tactical mistake with my whiskey, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the record and apologize for it. Apparently, I've been storing some of my whiskey in the freezer, and I did this because I used to go with ice cubes, and if the whiskey was warm, they would melt real quick. And since I've moved to the ice balls, I didn't take it out of the freezer. They gave me a hard time. You'll notice that this one does not have the frost on it. This is a nice room temperature bottle of Basil Hayden. I still am pouring it over my nice ice balls. You're just going to have to get over that. But thanks for joining. I've got a great guest lined up today, someone I actually met in the Netherlands. And please welcome Dwayne Ernest, VP of Sales and Strategic Partnerships at MageMail. Dwayne, welcome to the live stream.
How are we doing, guys? Glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me, TJ. I am drinking an aged 10-year batch of Henry McKenna, and I do not go with the ice. I like to use a mason jar.
Look at him. He's much more of a man than I am, like a big grizzly bear. Room temperature in a mason jar.
In my office, they offered me up gin, and I said, actually, I took a line from Ron Swanson and said, clear liquor is for rich women on diets. So decided to go with the bourbon.
Well, I wanted to bring you on. I mean, the Meet Magento Netherlands was a lot of fun. Obviously, we're going to talk about email, segmentation, personalization, automation. But I wanted to talk about Meet Magento Netherlands, which is, again, I got to announce you and your talk on stage, which I think yours was probably one of two names I actually got correct. So thank you for giving me a nice, easy name to announce, so that I feel like, small victories, man. You just got to kind of enjoy the small victories.
You got to take them when they come. Thank you for not saying Dwayne. No, it was great. I don't know if you saw the sheer horror on my face. It was supposed to be a 10-minute conversation. And then right before I got on stage, Hito told me that it was 25 minutes. So, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you came up. You're like, I'm like, I was telling you the format. I'm like, you've got like 25 minutes, and then we're going to do a 5-minute Q&A. And you're like, yeah, no problem. This is a 10-minute presentation. So I think you managed to stretch it with questions to like 22, 23 minutes. So you did good.
Yeah, not bad. It was the Netherlands. I didn't realize how great of an audience they were. Most of the merchants I got to speak with were well versed in Magento. They knew what they were looking for, and there was a great group of just vendors there. Not only the vendors, there was a great group of developers, and that's the one thing that's really attracted me since I became a part of this community, is just how passionate the Magento development community is, and the merchants.
Well, you're brand new to the community, right? You joined MageMail right before Imagine.
4 days before, got tossed in the deep end.
So you've either come into a really scary time or a really exciting time, depending on how the whole Adobe acquisition goes. But you definitely have joined the community at a very interesting time period.
Yeah, it just seems there's a lot of exciting things happening. First initial reaction on any unknown is, oh my God, what's going to happen? But after you listen to how Adobe's acquired other companies and they didn't really lose their culture, more power to it. Adobe's a great company to partner with and be bought out by. So, hey, I think it's going to be a great relationship.
But you gave a talk on personalization on MageMail. I think a lot of our audience is aware of MageMail and its history, being founded by Kaylin Jordan, for those that may not know. which is a prominent community member. He's the co-host of Mage Talk, which is I think the only, definitely the biggest Magento community podcast. And so very, very well-known individual started the company. And then recently, it was, I guess, a year, 2 years ago, I'm not sure how long ago now, kind of sold it off. And now they've brought you in to help grow that company.
Yeah, I'm coming in at a very exciting time. We bought MageMail from Kalen about 2016, and we've really been focused on adding on the great platform that he's built, just adding in features and functionality and really getting feedback from the market. And since Kalen's been out of the picture for about 2 years now, we have really, we're ready to take that next step and grow up. So as we're actively growing and onboarding customers, we're learning from the feedback we get from them. I ran a survey earlier in the week because I wanted to see who had the most dynamic emails, and I pulled a lot of emails from our customers, and I reached out to the top 5. And I was like, hey, how are you doing this so great? So it's been fun. It's exciting, growing and learning from just everyone.
Now Kalen obviously started the company as Magento only. Are you still Magento only? Is that the long-term plan? I mean, there seems to be a lot of advantages to branching out. What's the roadmap look like for MageMail?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. So the roadmap, as of right now, we're going to stay deeply integrated with Magento. We want to get very good at doing one thing right. We want to be the top at what we're doing right now. And if we can hone in on Magento and becoming one of the best email automated solutions out there and very prominent in the community, then that's our overall goal right now. As far as branching out to WooCommerce and Shopify, yeah, obviously we'd like that revenue, and it's a different stream. But hey, let's get really good for our customers now in this community, and then we'll figure that piece later.
So is that the big advantage to sticking to one platform, is that you can go deeper with that integration and just make sure it's a little more seamless experience?
Well, yeah, I mean, Magento does a great job of pulling in data and being able to figure out how to utilize that data to best position customers to garnish more revenue. We're still pouring through it, right? There's so much that we can do from analysis perspectives and account audits that we're able to. We know that if we spread ourselves too thin, we won't be able to provide as much value right up front. So I think it's the right move. And further down the road, obviously, we're going to branch, but not right now. We're focused on doing this MageMail right for the Magento community.
There are a lot of email service providers out there. There are a ton of them that are Magento partners. And so what's MageMail's main advantage? Like where do you stand out versus those competitors, and why would I choose you?
Great. That's a great question. So, I mean, where we stand with our competitors, we are not just an ESP. We white label ESPs like Nailgron, MailChimp, SendGrid. Ultimately, we are a hands-on marketing solution that's pretty seamless to what you're trying to do. You can drag and drop and build intuitive email campaigns. It's very easy to set up segmentation and A/B testing and really become personalized. But where we fit into the market is there are companies out there that have a full suite of things that will never be used by a customer. Most of our customers that we've found, and we've honed some of our triggers down, only use probably about 60% of our products, right? So when you look at larger companies, we realize they've built these beautiful, customized triggers, and not everybody's going to use them. So it kind of what differentiates us and makes us feasible in the market is more of just we're cost effective, we're young and hungry, and we don't really care about what size your business is. Because if we're doing what we say that we're going to do for you and grow your business and revenue with and abandoned carts and transactional emails, we're going to help you get to that next level. So we look for customers anywhere from 500,000 store revenue all the way up to 40 to 50 million. Depending on where they're at in their marketing, that's where we fit. It really comes down to easy use. What we really find is most marketers that are either new to Magento or they're younger store owners, they are wearing too many hats, and being able to alleviate a complex marketing automation solution and making it very easy allows them to focus on higher value products while being able to focus in on bringing on what really matters is, ROI, keeping your customers happy, continuing your brand story after they leave your website.
You're the partnership guy for MageMail. Like you're that guy. So Aaron in the chat says, any upcoming partnerships on the MageMail horizons?
Well, I'm still waiting for Jamerson to politely take me out to dinner. No, huge partnerships on the roadmap. Connected really well with Ignacio over there at Interactive 4. They do some great work. If you haven't checked out their website over there in Spain, they do great work. That's on the roadmap here in the near future. Working with Marcia, trying to figure out how to become a better partner with Mage Mojo as well. So we got a ton of partnership opportunities out there. We're vetting some of them. We want to make sure that we're partnering with the right people, but we also want to make sure that what we offer will benefit them as well.
So what are you looking for in partnerships? Like, obviously the best partnerships are mutually beneficial. So, what are you trying to, if you're trying to partner, obviously you just mentioned some SI, some agencies, and you also mentioned a hosting provider. How do you go about finding out which one of those are most beneficial for your business, and how do you, provide benefit to them?
Well, kind of understanding where their customers are at. Where their pain points are. So, for instance, I was talking to a couple of people, and I know that dot mailers out there, they're really big, and it's typically one of the first solutions, offered up, which is fine. And they should be. They're a great company. They have a great solution. When I look for partnerships and where I know I can provide the most value is there's customers that are really struggling to execute an effective email marketing strategy. And finding the ones that, are just ready to make that next step or have no clue what they're really setting out to do. That's where I'm focusing my team right now, on, better onboarding to strengthen those relationships. So when I talk to partners, I want to know about their customers that they are concerned about, not necessarily their top dollar customers. I want to know the customers that they value their business. They want to see it grow, and then I can actually see if I can provide value. Typically, I can.
So you brought up dot mailer, and there again a lot of and ESP is probably not the right term to use, obviously, but email marketing automation tools. You've got dot mailer, which is a fantastic system. It's really robust, a ton of functionality. And then you've got customers products like Springbot, which we love over in Atlanta, that really focus on customer service and making it really automated and easy for those smaller merchants that just don't have time, knowledge, or resources to do it. Their process, their program really just kind of handles a lot of that for merchants. How do you stand in there? How do you kind of compare to those? Like, are you more on the smaller market, really looking for someone that maybe doesn't know what they're doing and you provide that hands-on approach? Or are you really going more towards a robust tool that a professional that really knows what they're doing can get in there and properly leverage?
Ideally, both. Both customers provide the same value, right? Obviously, one's going to garnish more ROI. But my goal here, one of the key areas identified is if we become the solution that when we onboard you, we set the right expectations. We set you up for success before you even get started. We're obviously looking for your approval when we set triggers, but we want to make sure that when you start live with us and your campaigns are ready to go, that everything's set. And then, a month later, we do a real account audit. I always keep my line open. I had a customer from Singapore call me about 1 a.m. last night. We were up until about 2:30, and I was just helping him through segmentation. He had too big of a list. He wasn't sure where to go with it. And, after hammering out what actually he needed, that's the way that I want to interact with my customers. So, as far as Springbok goes, they do have a great, out of the box features, which we have. We have that very hands-on marketing, but drag and drop. Our WYSIWYG editor makes it very, very easy to switch campaigns globally and locally, and provide different looks and feels for the customers you're looking to target. But ultimately, I want to train my customers. I want to be the asset, not necessarily the tool as well.
I understand, and we're not here to sell things. We're here to provide value to people who watch this video. So, but I want to, one more question, kind of about Mage Mail before we start getting into just kind of some email tips in general. And what does, if I'm a merchant, how do I know that I'm the right fit, or Mage Mail is the right fit for me? What does your ideal customer look like? And I know, before you answer, everybody wants every customer. But what does that can't miss ideal customer look like for you?
I would probably say between 1 and 15 million. And someone that knows and understands that need and is ready to go. That's my ideal customer. So
someone who's ready to be aggressive and kind of, make an improvement and push, but they've got, they kind of got the business off the ground and they're ready to take that next step.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about email marketing or email automation. What are some things that you're consistently seeing merchants do wrong with their email that just to you is like, this is obvious. Why would anybody do this? This is a problem and you should correct it. Or, and I guess that could be, what are they not doing as well? What are you running into every day that just makes you scratch your head?
Bad merge fields. I jokingly, when I first got here, I sent about 1,000 emails. Or I sent 1,000 emails with bad merge fields and 1,000 with correct merge fields, because I noticed as I did an audit of campaigns that was the number one. So I wanted to see what a new marketer had to go through to get that right. And since then, we've actually improved our product that way, right? Is how do we make this easier? Because it's such a simple mistake to make. But it's a difference of hi or hi Bob when your name's Jan, or what company you're with, and being able to effectively personalize emails in a quick manner. I see that happen nonstop. So making sure that,
for those that maybe are not familiar with email marketing, when you say bad merge fields, it's basically pulling data into the wrong blanks in your template is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Pulling the wrong data, putting it in the wrong spot. Sometimes you'll see titles and companies wrong because they'll have old information. So basically not an updated database is one of the struggles there.
Yeah, I get those emails a lot where it's, dear, and sometimes where there's like nothing entered. It's like dear, and then you see the slug that is supposed to be replaced with your name and that kind of thing. All of that, I would have, as many of those as I get, I assume that's a huge problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's for new marketers, that's something very simple to make. And then the good thing about that, it's not hard to bounce back from. I think most people's attention spans when it comes to emails that are sent the wrong way, it's probably forgot about in 2 weeks. So if you make a mistake, don't worry. You'll have more opportunities to actually earn that business and become more personalized. Yeah.
Aaron in the chat asks, wonders if you could go a little more in depth on your reporting tools.
On our analytics? Absolutely. It depends what you're looking to learn about. I mean, if you're looking to understand key data points to target customers, say, I had talked about this in my speech in the Netherlands, but I just worked on that account this morning. We had a customer that was trying to get rid of a subpar product or a sub-performing product. And in our analytics tool, we were able to identify key users that fit the same demographic. So ultimately, we were looking to get rid of aviator sunglasses. So we looked at, males between 22 and 26. We found that most of these males that have purchased orders like that, those set of sunglasses in the past 6 months, really lived about 50 miles out of the closest metro city area. And we actually found product reviews from that sub-performing product with customers that fit that. So when it comes to our analytics tool, it really depends on what you're actually looking to get from it. So what we've done effectively is starting to pull that information out of customers. You got to know your goals and your KPIs before we really get into how our analytics work and how you can utilize them to grow.
You talk about segmentation, and you talked about segmentation at your Meet Magento Netherlands speech. And most merchants I talk to don't segment their customers at all. Like that's just not even something. They're doing the bare minimum if they're doing anything at all. And so they don't even really think about customer segmentation, and they don't understand how they should be segmenting those customers. So maybe you can give us some basics of how people should be segmenting their list, maybe something that applies to everyone, some low-hanging fruit that anyone who happens to stumble across this video could apply and actually make a difference in their email marketing.
Absolutely. If you haven't started segmenting your email list, don't worry, you're not alone. I think it's roughly 52% of marketers have a great need and have identified a great need to segment their email database. So we really like to keep it simple right off the bat. If I have a customer that doesn't quite know how to segment their list, or they've tried, we really start with product reviews and customer review, or product recommendations and customer reviews. And then we start tying in like-minded individuals, run an A/B test, and also finding the value of what those customers have brought in the past 6 months. So if I make a recommendation to a client, it's always start with those two areas. Keep it very simple. See what kind of data you have. Run the test, see what works, move forward. The biggest part in this is I find customers are afraid to fail. And as I had mentioned before, if you make a mistake, no one's going to notice in 2 weeks. So when it really comes to getting this right, and the beauty of A/B testing is it allows you to fail quicker, faster, and learn from your mistakes.
So you mentioned segmenting based on reviews. Like, give me a concrete example of how that works. Are we segmenting customers that maybe have made a review versus haven't made a review? Is that just kind of what you're doing, or?
Yeah, you can even go a little bit further. Customers that have left a review, customers that haven't, and you can also put that up against customers that have purchased products and customers that haven't. Another quick way to do that is the ones that have left the reviews and the ones that haven't. See what they've abandoned in their carts, so you can see if they have like-minded products, and then that's where those product recommendations will come in handy.
So, like, why would you target people who have made reviews? Are they more likely to buy from you again, or how would your message differ to them versus just any old customer or someone on your newsletter? Like, I'm trying to make sure I understand the strategy around why that customer. Obviously, they're more special. They bought something they reviewed, but how is that customer more special than any other customer?
Well, they're brand advocates, right? They've taken it upon themselves to tell you why your product's great, why they would choose your product versus a competitor. Start there. Start with your cheerleaders, right? You can take those customer reviews and brand advocates and build more brand advocates. That's ultimately what you want, right? You want people to talk about your product. You want them to share it. I think everybody that's purchased a product, if they really like it, whether or not they've left a review, if they've told 10 to 20 people about it. So having those reviews just kind of gets that bug of sharing. This is why I bought this product. This is what I love about it. I mean, I'm a fanatic when I purchase something, I have to read all the reviews. And I think it makes a better purchasing decision. Makes you feel more comfortable purchasing something online, because no one wants to return stuff. I have, oh God, I probably have like 5 or 6 things sitting in my back room at home that, because I didn't read the reviews, it doesn't fit, and just returning it's a hassle. So it makes you more comfortable. So that's why you would start there. You know, you have someone talking about your product in great light.
Okay, let's talk about personalization for a second, and just kind of a note on a lot of merchants I talk to don't understand personalization and what they think is personalization. They understand that it's serving unique content to each of your visitors based on something. But a lot of companies say they do personalization, and people start thinking about these big data, AI-driven personalization engines and all of this stuff. But a lot of people I talk to, when they use the term personalization, they're basically talking segmentation. They're basically talking segmenting users based on some criteria and then serving that group of users content based on that criteria. Is that kind of how MageMail approaches it, or is personalization something more involved for you?
It can be more involved, but you kind of broke it down to the bare bones, right? So you use your segmentation to make sure that your messaging's in line with the customers you want to reach out to. So by understanding that you're delivering content to like-minded individuals, it gives you the opportunity to talk to them on a more personal level versus, sending out a bulk email about 9-inch red high heels that have 5 different customer reviews when you're actually talking to men in their 40s that wear Hawaiian shirts and flip-flops. So, and I've seen it happen. And I'm sure you've gotten an email that way as well, as most of the people listening right now. So in a sense, yeah, it starts with the segmentation, and that, because you can't sit down and draft a personal email to 500,000 people in your newsletter list or 30,000 people in your newsletter list. I don't have that much time. I don't know anybody that does. So being able to group people that are like-minded and being able to deliver a message that's powerful to them, it really increases your marketing efforts. A lot of it doesn't go to waste. It's not falling on deaf ears.
Now, I'm assuming that you can do one-to-one personalization to a degree where you might be able to pull in products someone viewed, or related products to something they've purchased, or maybe something they've abandoned in their cart. Will MageMail handle those kind of cases?
Absolutely. You can actually set that up and automate it, right? So once you segment your list, customers that have purchased, you will recognize their buying behavior and purchase history. So I have customers that will take that segmented list, and they know that, hey, every 6 months this customer buys this product or buys a product similar. So 3 months in advance, they'll start using product reviews and product recommendations as part of a drip campaign that's personalized to them. And then it's automated. So being able to showcase that, week after week, you can bring them back to the top of your funnel a month early. You can also find that if you do this properly, you're going to get, probably 1 to 2 more purchases within that buying cycle. It's I'd say about 25% statistically possible in that regards.
With more and more of the world going mobile, is there anything that merchants need to be doing to make sure that their email campaigns are mobile friendly?
So about a month ago, I had a customer come from a competitor because when they were getting sent order confirmations on mobile, they weren't able to click into the email and jump back to the website, and it wasn't replenishing the cart. So when it comes to mobile, you want to eliminate as many barriers as possible to that path of purchase. So with this particular customer, we actually had that functionality already built for them, so it was an easy fit for us. But ultimately, I think we learned this at Meet Magento. What's the point, or when do you build desire, right? So sometimes having that barrier builds desire, but when it comes to a quick purchase on a cell phone, you don't really need to build that desire. The desire is already there. It's in a handheld device. So crafting emails with our system, you can toggle between desktop and mobile and see how it looks. It's very responsive. So it provides the same look and feel, but one thing you want to realize is a desktop's going to give you a wider view. So if you have too much content, a customer is going to have to scroll very far to get to that call to action. So if you need to have a lot of content, you want to make sure that you have a call to action, either, within 2 seconds of an eye look on the email or on that email on the mobile, or at the very top. So if they read half down, hey, I'm sold, they just scroll to the top, click a button, bam, they're right back there ready to purchase. Mobile is the quickest way to earn customers these days. I'm hardly ever sitting on my desktop unless I'm in my office, and I can't really peruse Amazon with everybody around me. So it usually takes place on the cell phone.
Yeah, I think that, that call to action at the top definitely makes sense. And that kind of goes to my next question I have here, and that'll definitely be one of those tips. But let's see if there's anything else there. There's really three things when it comes to a great email campaign, and that's getting it to your customer, not hitting the spam folder. That's getting them to actually open the email by having an interesting title or subheader, and that's getting them to interact and click to do something, to go to the website, to buy something, to do whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. Are there any kind of best practices or things you see with most merchants that can improve those three areas?
Well, absolutely. Understanding. So here, when we work with customers that have a large newsletter list, so we don't, to not hit spam folders or become unsubscribed, we like to throttle, and there's a cadence in increasing that number of newsletters in that first time around to prevent that from happening. When it comes to transactional emails, those typically are not going to end up in a spam folder. If they do, there's something broken, and feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you fix it. Getting them to open it, great titles and subheaders, those are things that you should really A/B test. I worked with a customer that was struggling with open rates, and when she did get open rates, it wasn't leading to conversion. But after running a couple of A/B testing, we started playing with the color structure in her subject lines. And we found out that using red and blue lettering in her email subject lines really spoke to her customers, and she saw higher clicks that also led to higher conversions, because not only was the emails open because I guess that the colors coincided with her buyers, but we also changed the call to action button to reflect those colors as well. Getting them to interact and click on something, be creative, A/B test. Like I had mentioned with mobile, having the call to action at the top. When it comes to sending out just emails to send emails, almost like your newsletter, if you're doing it too frequent, keep it short. People get exhausted. Think of yourself as a consumer. What are you going to read? Is it a 9-page letter, or is it something that's easily digested? I don't typically like bullet points, but bullet points do stick out. That's where eyes are going to go. So if you do use bullet points, make sure that you're using them in an effective manner. And then there's some sort of call to action built in with those bullet points. Another great technique is when you're actually putting out that content and measuring what works, is start playing with urgency phrases. For instance, if you're using order confirmations, make sure that you show that how much inventory you have left. Build that desire. Oh my God, there was 430. Now there's only 2 of these products. Now I got to get it, or I'm going to have to wait an extra 3 weeks. Building that urgency in early and often, and doing it fluidly is what's really going to make that interaction and clicks skyrocket.
So we've got a few questions to get to in the chat, and keep those questions coming, and I'll make Dwayne stay here until we get them all answered. So first question, Tiffany in the chat asks, she says, hey, Dwayne, how many times should I email someone in a week? Is there a number that is too high? That's
a great question. I mean, obviously you don't want to turn people off. When it comes to traditional B2B marketing, you're looking at maybe once to twice a week. If you're looking for lead nurturing and bringing them to the top of your funnel. When it's B2C, you'll pay attention to the open rates, right, with those customers. So if you're sending them 10 emails in a month and they only open 2, maybe back it down to like 4 to 5 and make sure that the content that's in it is more relevant to what they're looking for. Because eventually, if they're only looking at 20% of the emails that you send, that's a customer that's probably going to fall to the wayside, and they're going to automatically put you in that spam button, or they're going to hit that unsubscribe. Now, if you see customers that are gobbling up your content, you don't want to just start flooding them, with more content. You just want to make sure how long they're staying and reading that email if they clicked on those actions. So that'll help build engagement, and you can gauge off of your frequency from there. And that engagement, we can actually help you do that with our analytics suite.
Yeah, that's usually how we advise merchants. If you're sending garbage to your merchants or to your customers, then sending it once is too much. But if you're sending quality content that they love and they engage with, and you're putting a lot of effort into that content, then you may be able to increase that the quantity that you're actually sending them. But you've got to make sure you're focused on quantity or quality over quantity, right? I mean, I think that's pretty much what you said, right?
Absolutely. And it really doesn't. Don't get hung up on clicks and conversions. For instance, I had a customer, they were trying to send out promotions, and they're sending out 20, 30, 50% promotions. Wasn't seeing much success. And to relate back to what you were saying, TJ, is they were just trying to discount their product. So it was kind of coming across as this is garbage, without naming the customer. But we had them focus and reorient their emails, not necessarily on how cheap they could purchase the product, but the value that the product actually provided to them. And what they saw is it was actually lower clicks, but it was a higher conversion. And now ultimately that's where a good A/B testing will allow you to know if you're sending garbage or not.
Right. And we've got another great question in the chat from Brianna. And I'm going to try to clarify this one a little bit. Brianna, let me know if we're misunderstanding your question. But she says, how many emails does it take on average for a customer to return and purchase? So reading between the lines, I'm assuming she's talking about a win-back campaign. Once you've actually got a customer, are you seeing kind of that magic number of average number of reach outs and attempts it takes to maybe get those people back and into being a repeat customer?
And that's a great question. There is a magic number. I don't want to say it's unique to business or merchant to merchant. Ultimately, what we find is industry by industry, you're gonna start to see that unique number. I always relate that unique number to seeing if you take a large pool of your customers and see the exact email, if you're tracking it, what leads to the highest conversion, what leads to the highest click. Then once you figure that part out, start working your way back. What was that sequence? Because it's not necessarily the number of emails, it may be the sequence of the emails, right? How many times have you sent it? What was the days between? How did you build urgency? So when working with customers, being able to identify, that exact aha moment where a customer is ready to buy is something that we pride ourselves on. There was that first quote at Meet Magento Netherlands. At what point do your customers become addicted to your product? I've heard this asked several different ways. This week, this has kind of been my mantra. At what point do your customers become addicted to your product?
Emily asks, how personalized should my emails be then? What's the best way to personalize them?
How personalized should my emails be? You know what? I actually came across this case study last night from JetBit. they don't do email automation. They're talking about how creepy personalization can be. So think about this. Now, if you have Wi-Fi on your phone and you walk into a store, I don't know if you've seen these emails, but when you walk out, you're going to get an email offer. Hey, I just noticed you're in this store. So being that personalized can kind of be a turnoff, right? But people want to read something that's of interest to them. So I'm going to relate it back to not sending people, products that's not related to them. Sending high heels to men that will wear Hawaiian shirts and flip-flops takes the cake, and I see it done all the time. So when you're personalizing, just understand it gives you the opportunity to become more intimate with your customers, and that's the way you should look at it.
Yeah, a great comment here in the chat from The Guardian and James. And he mentions that each industry is different. For instance, people in the gardening horticulture industry may get spooked out by personalizations in terms of, hello, TJ or something like that. But people in tech, it might be normal. So basically, it depends on your audience as to how personalized you want to get. And there's a famous case study that Target put out. I forget the exact story, but basically it boils down to they did some big data analysis, and they sent personalized mailers, physical mailers to people's houses. And they knew if someone bought these three seemingly unrelated products, if they bought all three of them, then more than likely they're pregnant. And they sent a physical mailer to a 17-year-old girl's house congratulating her on her pregnancy because she had purchased these three products. And but Target knew she was pregnant before her dad knew that she was pregnant. And he came up to the store demanding an apology. Come to find out, Target was right. And so Target actually had to tone that campaign back. And they still sent the personalization stuff with the pregnancy stuff, but they mixed it into an assortment of other products. So it seemed random, like, oh, what a coincidence. They sent me some stuff that has some pregnancy stuff in it. You've definitely got to find your industry and test how personalized you can be, because at some point, if you go far enough, it's going to creep everybody out.
And you said a key word there. They made assumptions. And in A/B testing and personalizations, we make a lot of assumptions, but you can make wrong assumptions very quickly. So being able to analyze the data and not making assumptions that ultimately are going to lead to some poor girl getting ranked out by her dad. It's kind of like when you get those emails, hey, when was the last time you checked your warranty on your refrigerator? Well, I don't. I rent an apartment. Making an assumption that I'm a homeowner isn't personalized, but making assumptions on someone being pregnant that's a risky thing to do.
Aaron asks, in terms of building urgency with emails, do you find sheer numbers like 50 left or verbiage like limited quantities are almost sold out work better for building that urgency, or do you have maybe you have some other tips around creating that?
Yeah, so those will work, and they can be effective to a certain subset of customers. But when you think about when you think of urgency and building that approach around it, start thinking about why that customer actually put that in their cart, right? Why would they purchase your product? Why do they need it now? Why can they not function day to day without that product? Not necessarily limited qualities. I like the little orders, like you have there's two remaining, 435 left, because it's not as intrusive as limited qualities. That kind of comes off as a little bit sales pitchy. But hey, this is being infrequently bought right now, and building that urgency and building those statements around limited quality before that, providing the value of your product first, will go over a lot better.
Answered. Carl in the chat says, what's the common denominator when it comes to MageMail's customers who are recovering adding the most revenue? Like, is there some key statistic for those customers that are the most successful using your platform?
They are willing to fail. And I say that because they're willing to try things to see if they succeed. And once they find, because it only takes you one time to succeed, right? And when you succeed, you don't really have to build upon that. That gives you opportunities to set it and go and start working for other key areas. So the customers that are constantly engaged and reach out for help if they don't understand something are the ones that have the most success. I love the customers that are willing to email me 10 times a day to get something right. Anybody that knows me, you have to be obsessed with what you do, right? To be successful at it. And if you're successful at it at your first go, you're probably a company like Apple or Walmart. So there's not much I can help you with. You're already a genius. But if you're willing to learn from your mistakes and understand that every mistake that you make is leading you closer to ultimate success, we are going to help you make a lot of money. And we're going to help you do it in a very quick manner that doesn't turn off your customer base.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. I'm going to get to Christopher's got a great question. I'm going to get back to that in a second, but I want to jump right to the meat here. And Emily's like, how do I set up a demo for MageMail?
Absolutely. Just go to magemail.com. We don't hide our schedule a demo button. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can also reach out to me via my Twitter channel. If you want to schedule a demo, ultimately what I say is, let's jump on the phone, schedule it. You can pick and choose your time. I work with a lot of customers overseas, so we like to give you the opportunity to schedule your time. I have no problem working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As TJ alluded to earlier in our conversation, Marso will always take you at 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. So I'm used to working those hours. If you want to schedule a demo, please just go to the website. It's right there on the front page. It's in the top right corner of my website as well.
And I just posted a link to it in the chat. That is magemail.co. And you should be able to click schedule a demo. I linked to it in the chat, so you should be able to go straight to that if you choose to do so. So I'm going to get back to Christopher's question here. And this touches on something we were kind of talking about, but what other emails are good to generate revenue aside from abandoned carts? Like abandoned carts is numero uno. You're losing a bunch of stuff to abandoned carts, a bunch of revenue to abandoned carts. So you definitely want to do that first. But after you've got that set up, what emails are you seeing the most improvement as far as revenue generation from?
It would probably be win-backs, right? And then also customer reviews. People feel more comfortable buying something that has been recommended, whether or not they know that customer. Those customer reviews are key. And if you don't have them, we can help you find them. We can help you set up campaigns to get customer reviews on your products. But ultimately, you want to think about, how can I relate very quickly to a customer I don't know? And if you've noticed that they're looking at a certain product on your site, being able to, or they've abandoned a certain product, being able to shoot them over a review within the first 20 minutes or then the first 2 days, you're going to see the highest return.
Another question here from Jamie in the chat, and this is a great question. I've seen a lot of people do this multiple ways. And as an email sign-off, would you recommend, or even a from email address, a from email address being even more important, I think, than the sign-off, would you recommend it coming from the company or someone's personal name? For instance, would it come from, this email is from MageMail, or this email is from Jamie, or Jamie at MageMail? What are your best practices around the from email address and the signature in that email?
So that's a great question. So if it's B2B, you want to make sure that you're communicating that it's you. You don't know, no B2B developer or agency out there is going to answer something from hello at MageMail, right? But they will answer something that says, hey, my name is Dwayne. I'm VP of sales at MageMail. Because it's more personalized. You're then engaging in a conversation with the person. whether or not that email has been sent out to 500 people or 1,000 people. Now, when it comes to retailers, if it's your newsletter, you don't want it to come from the store. You want it to come from the CEO or the VP of e-commerce or the head of e-commerce. If it's a generalized newsletter as well, you can say, hey, it's Swag UK here, which is actually one of the customers I had mentioned earlier on that sends out the best emails. It's not personalized to their company, but it is. Because the look and feel makes you feel like you're back on the website. So when it comes to B2C customers, you want to make sure it's not necessarily who it's from. You want to make sure it looks and feels like your website and it's clean. But when it comes to B2B, you really want to make sure you're hammering home that it's personalized. It's you. It's not just accounts at MageMail or info at MageMail.
Yeah, it's definitely better to add some personality to it and add a person. I've actually seen companies create a fake person that doesn't actually exist, and use that as like the personality on the emails. I don't know if I necessarily recommend that strategy, but I do like the idea of adding a person. The great thing about a fictitious person is they never leave the company. But it's one of those. I do like the strategy, and it does seem, in my experience, to have significant benefits. And so I am out of whiskey, and we are going to call it quits. Again, hit the thumbs up on the video, please. Subscribe to the channel. Tap the notification bell. We're going to do this every Friday. I'm not exactly sure who the guest is next Friday. I've got Nexus coming up, talking about some new things they're announcing around Magento hosting, and then we've got some SEO, an SEO expert coming on in a few weeks. I believe next week is still open. I'm still working on a guest, so if you would just go ahead and post in the chat. Let me know what topic you want me to talk about. I'll find a guest. We'll talk about it next week. We'll get this right away. There's no need to wait. So I appreciate everyone watching, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video.